What is going on, my YouTube friends? It's Trevor coming at you from Wichita, Kansas today. And I want to talk to you guys yet again about Bitcoin and MSTR stock. Had a few more developments in the past 24 hours I want to bring to you guys' attention. First off, being Vanguard has now approved Bitcoin ETFs to be bought by their clients if you are a Vanguard customer. So that's a big deal because they have $11 trillion in assets under management. So I'm definitely going to get into that a lot. Also wanted to talk about how there's an Elon Musk interview this past weekend where he speaks about Bitcoin and how Bitcoin is basically energy dependent, and you can't just fabricate energy out of thin air. So we got the richest person in the world now, pro Bitcoin now and in the past, but just reiterating how pro Bitcoin he is. And then also I want to touch again on the strategic USD reserve that MSTR and Michael Saylor announced yesterday, because I've seen a lot of controversy surrounding this idea. To be fair, MSTR is definitely like the most controversial stock in the entire stock market, or if not, it's like close to it. It's very, very controversial, especially right now with its price declining so much. So, yeah, guys, with that, I want to talk about all that in this video. But first, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? At least consider subscribing. You know, we talk about Bitcoin, MSTR, AI, and robotics on a daily basis on this channel. Try to bring the breaking news to all my viewers so we can all make a little bit of money together. So, yeah, definitely consider subscribing if you haven't. Also, if you don't mind, like the video, promotes the video to other people. Helps me in the YouTube algorithm. And as well as, please let me know what your Bitcoin price targets are for the end of this year, end of fiscal year 2025, what you think Bitcoin will be. Okay, so first and foremost, the biggest news. Vanguard is now allowing its clients to buy Bitcoin ETFs. Okay, this is a big deal because, like I said before in the intro, we have $11 trillion in assets under management there. And we now know that if, IBIT or the Grayscale Bitcoin ETFs, any Bitcoin ETFs that are out there, there will be a non-zero amount of money of that 11 trillion that will go into these ETFs, right? I can't tell you it's going to be a trillion. I can't tell you it's going to be a half trillion. I can't even tell you if it's going to be 10 billion. But I can tell you it's going to be a non-zero number, right? If you take a 2%, like if you just imagine 2% of a trillion, what is that? That's 20 billion, right? So you can imagine if 2% of that money goes in, well, what's 20 billion times 11? It's about $220 billion. So that'd be about a 10% raise in Bitcoin-ish, right? If 2% of that 11 trillion went into Bitcoin. So that's how early we truly are, guys, in Bitcoin, where it's like, I talked about it before, but there's basically a quadrillion dollars worth of wealth in this world, right? And 370 trillion of that is in real estate, 330 trillion is in bonds, and right now only 2 trillion is in Bitcoin. So there's a big difference, like $330 trillion in bonds, 2 trillion in Bitcoin. What are we doing, guys? That's like one of the most bullish things you could ever think about, right? Where you're like, wow, Bitcoin is actually, a currency or a store of value that can't just be printed out of thin air. Kind of goes into the second point where I was talking about with Elon Musk. I'll probably skip around a little bit in this video, but since we're here, I might as well talk about it. Basically, he was interviewed over the weekend, and he talks about how basically, there's a potentially 10 to 20 years from now, no one will be working, right? You'll have AI and embodied robotics. Embodied AI, so humanoid robots or other robots, and then AI that'll essentially do everything that we need to do as far as labor, or like the majority of it, right? And then working could be a hobby or whatever. Well, the one thing that we can't just print out of thin air is energy, and that's what he talked about. It's like so energy. You actually have to find a way to capture the energy or generate the energy, as well as store the energy, and then transfer the energy into useful work, right? So that's the key with Bitcoin, right? Is it's a proof of work system. You have to have energy in order to mine Bitcoin. If you don't have the energy to mine Bitcoin, you don't get the Bitcoin. You can't just say, oh, COVID happened. Everyone's losing their job. We're going to print a bunch of USD. You can do that. You can't say we're going to go print a bunch of Bitcoin, right? That's why I call it the hardest asset in the world. It cannot be, interfered with. It cannot be affected by anything that happens in the real world. It's got true scarcity, right? Scarcity limited by energy generation, transfer, and usefulness, right? So yeah. So back to the Vanguard thing. So basically, a lot of other companies have now, like legacy brokerages or legacy banks, have transferred over to let their clients buy Bitcoin ETFs, like BlackRock, JP Morgan, Fidelity, now Vanguard, and I think Schwab will do it pretty soon. I don't think Schwab has it yet. Okay, let me take that back. I think they do for your brokerage account. I just don't know if they do for a retirement account, right? Where I don't know if you can actually straight up buy Bitcoin or if you have to buy the ETFs or how it works. But what I'm getting at is like you've got the legacy banks that are all now transferring over, right? They're all now allowing either Bitcoin ETFs to be bought or Bitcoin itself to be bought on their platform, right? Even if their CEOs don't like it, even if their CEOs call it a pet rock, right? Like we've seen Jamie Dimon do on multiple occasions. It doesn't matter. Their clients want it. It doesn't matter whether JP Morgan wants it, Vanguard, Schwab, anybody else, Fidelity. If their clients want it, their clients get what they want. The clients are the customers, right? So if JP Morgan or Fidelity or whoever else, Vanguard, that they don't offer it, then those customers are going to switch. That's the reason why all of these banks are switching over, because all of their clients want Bitcoin exposure, right? So it's a big deal. It's a big deal because you got hundreds of trillions of dollars under management with these gigantic banks. And if their clients are making a stink about wanting to be able to get into the hardest asset in the world, Bitcoin, then, the banks are going to oblige. They want the business. They don't want their business going somewhere else. So, yeah, it's just, to me, it's just like if this is the wall, there's writing all over it, right? The writing on the walls the writing is all over the wall for Bitcoin, in my personal humble opinion, from a guy on YouTube. Don't sue me, bro. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just some guy on YouTube giving you my opinions on, current news surrounding Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. So, yeah. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is the strategic USD reserve that MSTR announced yesterday. Okay, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, this is terrible. All the bears coming out of hibernation, right?" And they're talking about how it's a Ponzi scheme to take new investor money to pay old investors, which is honestly just funny. To me, I just find it funny. It's right. It's like, yeah, I mean, if that's how you define it, yeah, that's kind of Ponzi-ish, right? If you're taking new money from new investors to pay off the old investors, it's a funny way to spin it, right? But to me, it's like taking something completely out of context. It's like you're taking this one little thing and saying it's a Ponzi scheme because of this. Or, I mean, that's basically what they're doing. When they're not looking in the grand scheme of things, the macro is that Bitcoin is probably going to be worth a lot more very quickly. Like, very quickly. It's not like we're buying some useless it's not like MSTR is buying some useless asset with investor money and it's just, or it hinges on a whole bunch of things. It really doesn't hinge on much, right? There's never been something like Bitcoin to come out before. So if Bitcoin is successful, MSTR will be wildly successful, right? So if Bitcoin is not successful and Bitcoin, eventually goes to zero, something else replaces it, we find some other world reserve currency. Okay, fine. Yeah, MSTR is doomed, right? That's why I don't have my entire account in MSTR. But I've said that many times on this channel. I have, a certain allocation that I feel comfortable with, that I think everyone should either have an allocation they're comfortable with or not allocate anything, right? I'm not a financial advisor, though, so you're going to have to do your own research, do your own risk tolerance analysis, and see if MSTR is for you. But for me, it's definitely for me because I know my risk tolerance, right? I know I can't have more than a certain percentage in my account of MSTR because it's very volatile, right? But at the same time, I want an allocation to MSTR and definitely an allocation to Bitcoin because I'm big believers in both those assets. So, yeah, it's like you can keep saying it's a Ponzi scheme. You can keep saying you're taking new money to pay old investors. And yet, kind of in a way, they're doing that. In a way, I'll agree. But at the same time, you're talking about the hardest asset in the world that they're getting to buy now instead of the price that it's going to be in 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030. MSTR has 650,000 Bitcoin on the balance sheet, right? 650,000. We've got multiple bills in the U.S. Congress right now talking about the various amounts of Bitcoin that the U.S. wants to buy and put into a national strategic reserve, right? And you've seen the president of the United States come out many, many times and say this is one of his top priorities, is making the United States the Bitcoin/crypto capital of the world, right? So it's like and that's just here. That's just here in the U.S. That's not all over the entire world, right? That's not even including any companies, any high net worth individuals. What I'm saying is yeah, if Bitcoin doesn't go up a lot in the next few years, MicroStrategy and MicroStrategy investors are going to look dumb, But if Bitcoin goes up a lot, if Bitcoin goes to 1 million by 2030, nobody is going to be calling Michael Saylor an idiot, or the people that buy the stock idiots, or, it's just one of those times where it's like the stocks went down a lot, so the bears come out and like praise of themselves, right? And then they take things out of context, right? So I get it. It seems Ponzi-ish, but guess what? So does the United States fiat system. That also seems Ponzi-ish. Everything is basically a Ponzi scheme if you really look at it. It's really which, is there true value in like what you're doing? And are you buying something at basically a discounted rate? That's the idea behind what MSTR and Metaplanet and Bitmine and what all these crypto and ABTC, American Bitcoin Treasury Company, what all these treasury companies are doing. They're all under the same impression that Bitcoin is going to either continue the Bitcoin halving cycle or it's not, and it's just going to continue to go up like, consistently over the next 5-10 years, right? So you got two camps to this side: the Bitcoin Treasury Company side, where they believe there's going to be substantial increases in Bitcoin price over the next few years, or the people that think that Bitcoin treasury companies are Ponzi schemes, and yet most of these people are still bullish on Bitcoin. So like I've said it a million times, I don't see how you can possibly be bullish on Bitcoin but bearish on MSTR or Metaplanet or like ABTC or any of these other Bitcoin treasury companies. I just it doesn't compute with me. So if you guys can figure that out, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about what I just said too, because I think it's very profound. It's like, yes, you're using new investor money to pay off old investors for the dividends, right? With the $1.4 billion USD strategic reserve. I agree with that. You are doing that. But at the same time, you're now basically bulletproofing your strategy to where you've got enough money to cover dividends for, I think it's 21 months right now. And potentially they can go even further and further beyond that. So if there is any Bitcoin bear cycles and they're wrong in the next 2 or 3 years, they're covered. They don't have to worry about a single thing. They're not going to have to sell any Bitcoin. They're not going to have to do anything bad. Like no collateral will have to be sold. So yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think about that. Is it a Ponzi scheme, or is it a bulletproofing of the balance sheet and a bulletproofing of the Bitcoin treasury strategy, right? Let me know what you guys think. With that being said, definitely consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't. Really appreciate that. Also, like the video. And then finally, I'm building a YouTube store. I'm in the middle of doing that. It should be up by the end of this week. If you do have any ideas on something that you would like to see in there, like a Bitcoin-related T-shirt, Bitcoin-related hat, just keychain, something for your car, something for your work desk, just let me know. Let me know any sort of ideas you guys have below, because I'm interested in what you guys would like to see. So with that, guys, thank you for watching. Have yourself a great day.